We are expecting that €5 to our Revolut anytime soon. Thank you very much.
€3 for me, €2 for Gary.
Oh, sorry, what?
The signal is breaking up.
Right. Okay. No, I thought you were getting 60% of the money there. Right. We'll get into it. We'll get into it there straight away. So 1, 2, 3. Welcome, folks, to MG Racing Galway Day 5 preview with Gary Toohey and Mark Fanning. Mark, you are finishing up in Galway today. You're after doing 4 days there. How is the brain?
Yeah, the brain is good. Look, we hit the crossbar a lot yesterday, and we had some big price ones in there as well, painful ones. But overall, the racing's been fantastic. Look, if you're doing it for the fun and enjoyment, you can't but be enjoying your week. But it'd be nice just to get a few of those big ones over the board. But no, Galway is a fantastic city. It's a fantastic racing. There's fantastic racing, fantastic people here. So overall, can't complain.
Mark, you're like an ambassador for Galway. They're not going to pay you any extra for
Try,
saying nice
Gary.
things about them.
Always try.
Yeah, well, the guy loves to try. Right, we recap on day 4 really quickly. The results in the first race yesterday in the 210. We both went for Joy Machine. Mars Harper of Gordon Elliott, Sam Ewing, and Pioneer Racing caused an upset 11-2. And hindsight is great. Mars Harper had plenty of chase form going into the race and jumped like an absolute buck. Sir Argus just didn't have enough for Brian Hayes and William Mullen. So Mars Harper 11-2 won the first. In the second race yesterday, we were both in agreement that Horkail du Soleil was the best horse in the race and should win. We both just had selections, each way selections against the favourite. I had Ballyadam 6-1 that came in third place. Mark, you went for High at 4-1. She was actually very disappointing.
Yeah,
Mark.
and like when I mentioned her, she was 10-1. She actually went out to 12s all morning. Then she got smashed. She went into 4-1, but no, she wasn't. You never looked like you were actually going to collect her even your each way. She was very disappointing, Gary. Just very one place to going around, but maybe some mightn't just handle the track. But she was fifth in the was it the hurdle last year, so I thought she would have been a lot closer. But look, as you said, we did say that the favourite was going to be unbeatable. It was just we wanted to get a bit of a price each way just for our listeners.
Now, going on to third race, I really want to forget this race really quickly. What did we say yesterday about if you back a horse on the first or second day and they have a second or third entry in Galway, don't be afraid to go in. Gary didn't follow his own mantra. Laugh if you want. Absolutely bolted up for Colin Keane and Ger Keane. I backed it on Monday. Big prices, didn't really get a run, and absolutely Julia obliged yesterday 7-1. So anybody listening in, don't listen to me going forward because I haven't a clue what I'm talking about.
Listen to you at the first half and didn't take the second half completely out of the equation.
Mother of God, this was very frustrating now, Mark. I spoke to you right
back to was it the Monday or the Tuesday podcast? And you were very sweet in him, and it's just one of those things. Really, hindsight is great after the race, but absolutely hosed in. There was a good bit of support as well. My selection of the race was a non-runner, so maybe just watch him for the next day. Gambel Veloci.
Gambia Veloce, exactly. Moving on to the fourth race yesterday. Again, I had keep in touch. I tipped up a 4-1 each way, came second. Mermas for Dylan Brown McGonigal, and Joseph was a very impressive 12-1 winner here. Dandy Allies was third for Colin Keane and Ralph Beckett. Won't ponder on that race too much. In the 4:30. Very impressed with Big Diane. Now, I said this, I suppose, in the preview that I wanted to pick something, I suppose, left field at a price. The Big Diane did stand out to me. Well, didn't stand out, but I thought would run a big race. But I went up for Watt Pat. Came second for 9-2 for Willie and Paul. But the Big Diane, Mark, was very impressive for Kevin Sexton and Peter Fahey.
Very impressive, Gary, because Watt Pat at one stage raised a bit in snatches after Bridle, but look, for all the better was going to come on under pressure and actually maybe even chase down the Big Diane, but just kept finding plenty, like for Peter Fahey. As again, we were mentioning the Faheys during the week, very shrewd. Kevin Sexton, of course, stable jockey, knows the time of day. And of course, he was supported, so Peter Fahey, as I said during the week, did never leave it behind. But you did mention, actually, listening back, you did mention the Big Diane as one that would definitely was very interesting in the race. So, look.
In fairness to the Big Diane, I think the night before opened up in double figures, was backed into 11-2 and Julia obliged. Now, this lad, obviously, big by name, big by nature, will be an absolute monster going chasing in time, and the step up and trip obviously will suit as well. But no, I was very impressed, and I suppose I think the guys in our team made more of made more of it than it was. I know Kevin Sexton didn't have the whip in the right hand, jump in the last. Obviously, going around the right handed track, you should have the whip in the left hand. But I think they made more of it than they should have, and the Big Dion was a very comfortable winner. Now, Mark, moving on to this absolute bloody heartbreak of a Galway hurdle, mother of God. In the end, we had the second, third, fourth, and fifth. I tipped up my mate Mozzie and Filey Bay. You tipped up Jesse Evans. In the end, I actually had a late 5 each way on Iker Allen at 14s as well. So, Mark, I don't know where to start with this. And my mate Mozzie was coming through, touched 10 to 11 and running, pushing the last couple 100 yards. Then Jesse Evans, Zarek the Brave, completely took over. Jesse Evans had it, and in that final second, Zarek the Brave absolutely broke your heart.
Yeah, look, if you backed the winner of this, you would have been absolutely elated for the week. This was some race to watch, though, as Galway hurdle
Class.
Paul Townend, there's a reason he's champion jockey. He's some rider, lads. Anyone that doesn't think otherwise, it's just they need their head examined. But this is what he needs. This is what excels him on the big days. But Jesse Evans losing nothing in defeat except for our money. But at 16 to 1, we were happy enough to collect the place money. But ran an absolute stormer, Jesse Evans, and definitely one to follow for the season. But Zarek the Brave, look, even I was surprised. Like I fancied 4-year-olds in the race, but obviously they just don't win. And even Willie Mullins said before the race, I think he's seen one win in his lifetime. I was looking back, I think it was back in the early 2000s. I think Jim Cullity won on a 4-year-old. But yeah, look, he was probably mapped out for the race, and in the double green. Yeah, we've seen a lot of these big winners now, but Zarek the Brave was very good. I think the best horse in the race, and I think even though our selections ran very well, we can't really deny we all got a run. I think we all got a clear run. There was no hard luck stories. It's just we were on the wrong side of the small finishes. But look, what a cracking race.
Yeah, no, I disagree in the sense I don't think Zarek the Brave was mapped out for this. I think it was actually he just ended up falling into this race when they found out his handicap marked. Like, Jesus, we have a grade 1 horse here. I think he's very well handicapped. So they took a chance at it. And sure, look, Jesus, Willie's comments after the race, we're going to go for the champion hurdle. Like, now he's going to be targeted at the Morgiana first, obviously, which is probably the correct route, and then probably straight to the champion hurdle. So listen, you have a champion hurdle horse winning the Galway hurdle. Like, that was unheard of 10 years ago. It just goes to show the quality in this race. Now, but come here, before we move on, like, just really quickly, what about that bloody money for Glan? Like, I think it was 12s an hour or so before the race, and backed into 4s and absolutely ran no race at all.
Glan. Well, he ended up pulling up in the end, didn't he? But
he did, yeah. Mark, for a man who works in the industry, like, can you explain where that money came from, and can you explain why he ran so poorly?
Well, I think it was a domino effect, really. Like, you had Danny Gilligan on board. There's like, he's the rising star, of course, run the chase, and he won the horse in McMahon's early in the week, and I just think the domino effect took off, and it was just a matter of Chinese whispers, really, I'd say.
Okay, that's fair enough. We move on to the 540, where my nap of the day, Spring Evening, was a non-runner. Now, for anybody following me off the cliff, Spring Evening was a non-runner yesterday morning for Shane Foley and Yvonne Latta. But I have some very encouraging news. Spring Evening is entered in Naas on Monday. So I will be going in very, very, very sweetly again on Monday if Spring Evening is declared tomorrow morning. Obviously, 48-hour declarations. Keep an eye on your horse trackers tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, for Spring Evening. As I said, I was very sweet in the horse. It opened up in around 20s, was backed into around 8s or 9s before it made it on runner. So again, keep an eye on Spring Evening Monday in Naas. Now, Mark, I suppose we won't touch on this too much. Stoke the Fire was heavily backed in for Colin Keane and William Mullins, and I thought the horse ran Fierce Green up the straight. Colin Keane couldn't get him really straightened up, and Granville Street was a good winner for Kieran Murphy. I spoke with Kieran last year on a podcast I did with my old employer. Kieran is a lovely man, a real good man of the game, and delighted for Kieran to get a win around Galway.
Yeah, look, this Stoke the Fire was punted like it was out of the question. He was 5 to 2 in the morning to 5 to 4. Looked like he was kind of not just handling the track, I'd say, Gary.
It looked like that. It just, the creators seem to be all over shop. And look, Colin Keane is champion jockey. He's one of the best in the world, not just Ireland or the UK or Europe. But Colin just couldn't seem to straighten him up and get him correct. But again, I keep an eye on Stoke Fire now. Look, he'll probably get a good couple of pounds for it, so he probably is going to be exposed next time. But look, fair play to Granville Street for Kieran Murphy. Delight for Kieran. And moving on to the Glass, I'm absolutely delighted. We didn't win the race, Mark, but I'm absolutely delighted. My madness I kind of came through. Don't Stop the Music for Derek O'Connor and Martin Brazel. Now, I think it was 16s or 18s when we spoke yesterday morning, was backed into 5-1 at one stage, went off at 8-1 SB and ran an absolute cracker behind I Will Be Bay for Patrick and Willie.
Yeah, no, I think we gave more talking about this than any race yesterday, and I think we gave a good segment, part of the segment talking about actually Don't Stop the Music, and you gave him a fair shout. You said to back him without the favourite, and he duly obliged, and I think he could have been 6 or 7-1 when you said that, was he? Without the favourite.
He was 13-2 without the favourite at the time. Now, look, if I'm being honest, I had a fiver on at 13-2 without the favourite. I had a nice each way on at, I only got 14s in the end each way, but I'm absolutely delighted, even if I had no money on at all. Just, you know, in yourself when you have a thought about a horse for so long, and it actually comes off, and oh Jesus, turning for home. Derek was actually last off the bridle. So I thought for a second Don't Stop the Music would get the better of I Will Be Bay, but in fairness, I Will Be Bay definitely had a hell of a lot more in hand. But Don't Stop the Music will definitely go into tracker, and C Music as well for Emmett, and John Gleeson ran a cracker as well, Mark.
Very good. And no, you're dead right. He travelled in your head perfectly into the race. I think the rest horse did win the race, and I think he was just the class of the race, but they definitely backed up the Brazils there, and it just shows going forward that if you take a thought, like the Brazils they're so shrewd in that, and Derek O'Connor on board, but like if you see something like that, go with your gut.
That's it, exactly. But the main thing for me was the horse had an entry at one of the really good maidens at Christmas, so that was kind of something that tipped my hat. Right, Mark, moving on to day 5. We are going for the 5 o'clock back to an evening meeting today. It's a Guinness Galway Tribes handicap hurdle of 80 grand for 4-year-olds plus, and Buddy 1 is ahead of the market. Buddy 1 was 10-1 yesterday when it opened up. It is 9-2, 5-1 generally across the board. Obviously, Buddy 1 comes in here with really, really, really good form. Was second in Aintree back in the 14th of April, obviously at the big Aintree meeting in one of the big handicap hurdles there. Was second of 20 runners, 2 lengths behind Fenner's Cross. Runs off the same mark here today, 135. Buddy 1 should take a lot of beating. Now, one that I am going to go for, because I'm not making the same mistake today, I am going for Paul and Willie here today with Lot of Joy. Lot of Joy did run, obviously, on Monday in the big handicap on Monday. Came 6 of 20 runners behind, teed up. Now, look, it is 4 days later. Willie wouldn't be running the horse again if he didn't think he was fresh enough. I think Lot of Joy will run a big race for Willie and Paul. Mark, give me your angle here, please.
I actually went through this race before any prices came in. I like doing that with these handicaps. And I spotted one. He's a massive price there. 28-1, I think, in a minute. Nookie Johnson for Norm Mead. If you go back in this fella on his form, he's only had the 5 runs over the hurdles. He won his maiden. Now, albeit he got in the George room, but he only finished the short head behind the big Diane, and Hunter's Yarn was back in third. He went on then, and he absolutely hosed up in Nace. He beat a horse of Declan Quealy's that day. I just think this lad with Liam McKenna on board, I think he's value for you'll probably get 5 places in the race. I didn't even look at the place terms, but you should definitely get 5 places around, if not 6 in certain places. And I just think Nookie Johnson at 25s or 28-1 definitely outrun his odds.
Yeah, you can see there was 33s there first thing this morning. It's gone into 18s with Paddy. Now you can still get 25-1 with Boyles there this morning, and Boyles are paying 5 places as well. So I'm going for Lot of Joy 8-1 each way, and Mark, you were going for Nookie Johnson. Moving on to the second race, which is the 5:30, and it's a James Gate Irish EBF maiden auction of 19 grand for 2-year-olds only. Captain Maverick is top of the field there for Dermot Weld. Excuse me, and Chris Hayes. McGarry second favourite, Gary Carroll and Gavin Cronwell. And then Quick Steppin' is there as well for Natalie Lapooni and Billy Lee. Mark, not an overly strong opinion on the race. I will be, look, just for a selection point of view, I will be siding with McGarry here. McGarry, again, going back to my speed data, my speed ratings going off my time-wise cliff. Ran a cracker the last day in Roscommon, was second of 11 runners behind Profit Refused. And again, just based on the time ratings and with general improvement, I'm going to go for McGarry here for Gavin Cromwell and Gary Carroll. Who are you going
I'm
for,
going to
Mark?
go for Natalie Lupini. Lupini's runner, quick stepping for Billy Lee. I just think, again, you have three there with experience, and any three of them could win. Of course, Dermot Wells' favourite will take the beating. But for me, Natalie Lupini's Fascinating Company son ran a cracker on debut in Leopardstown, finished 4th of 18. Should come on from the run, but the runners always step up from runs. So just, I think a 5-1 could definitely be an each way play to nothing here.
Perfect. So I'm going for McGarry. Mark, you're going for Quick Step. And moving on to 6 o'clock, I love this race. This is the Guinness Galway Blazers Handicap Steeplechase of 80 grand for 4-year-olds plus. It's over 2 miles 6. The extended 2 miles 6. At top of the market with Goodbye Sam. Now, I backed Goodbye Sam last night at, I think it was 13-2 or 11-2. It's into a general 10-3, 3-1 in most places now. I think this horse is ridiculously well handicapped. It's not very often you see Paul Townend riding a 119 rated handicap chaser. Obviously in the same colours as what am I thinking? What's the name of that good bumper horse did a few years ago? I can't think of it. Help me out here, Mark. But Goodbye Sam. Anyway, Goodbye Sam.
I was lost because I was trying to. I'm trying to back Nucky Johnson before the price goes. But
anyway, Goodbye Sam for William Paul. Look, he's been heavily back from 13-2 into 7-2. Again, Paul doing 10 stone 5. I'm not too sure what Paul's bottom weight is, but you don't see him doing maybe 10 stone 5 too often. Look, just Goodbye Sam has been punted heavily. I backed it last night 13-2, 7-2 now. And look, it's rated 119. Obviously came from France, has ran in 4 chases in Ireland. And I just think Goodbye Sam is a good thing here. Now, I do want to give a quick mention to Arctic Ambition as well for Gordon Elliott. If Arctic Ambition gets in, has been riding on the crest of a wave over hurdles and fences, runs off 116. And Mr. Saxo Beat as well. Just a quick mention. I'm not backing these two, but obviously these two will now win. One of them will win because I'm not backing them. Mr. Saxo Beat for Tom Gibney and Kieran Callan runs off 124. Look, was fairly tame over hurdles. Only rated 112, but it's gone chasing and has rated 124 after 2 chase runs and just seems to improve for offence. So Mr. Saxo Beat and Arctic Ambition if someone likes a bet against the field. Mark, who are you going for here?
I totally agree with your points you made about Willie's runner there. I actually backed him at 5-1 last night. I see he's into 133-1 in places. I think if he puts it together, he should be the one they all have to be here. You went down through all what he was going to say, so I'm not going to bore listeners any longer. The one I find may be interesting if Willie gives it a run is the reserve In Conclusion. Thought he was very good in Tipperary the last day at 8-1 at the minute. If he gets in as a reserve, he'd probably shorten a little bit, but be interested to see if Willie does run him in the race.
Yeah, Inclusion is, I think, is first reserve, so Inclusion will probably get in.
Don't seem to be any non-runners at the minute, though, does it?
What time we know? It's only 20 past 9.
It's early.
It's early yet, so Inclusion more than likely will get in. So Inclusion, Mr. Saxo Beat, and Arctic Ambition against, I suppose, Goodbye Sam. But look, you're getting 6 places with Goodbye Sam. Not really an each way price at the moment, but you never know. Goodbye Sam could drift out again. So going on to the 6:35. It's the Guinness handicap of 110 grand for 3-year-olds plus. It's over a mile 4. Now, again, not very original. Jack Finbar. Mark, I texted you the last day. Jack Finbar was off the track for, I think, over 2 years. It ran in Roscommon on the 4th of July. Came 3rd of 9 runners. Billy actually rode the horse. I texted you straight after the race and, geez, this horse ran an absolute cracker. Was off the track for 4 years. Sorry, it was off the track for 4 years. Ran an absolute cracker behind Espionage and Young Ireland. Now, Espionage was disappointing in Goodwood yesterday, but Young Ireland and Espionage have good group form. Good listed form. So Jack Finbar I backed last night at around the 5-1 mark each way. It has been punted into 7-2 this morning. And Weston there for Gordon Elliott as well has been punted heavily as well. So look, I just think Jack Finbar is the one to beat here. If he improves from his run off the track for 4 years, I can't see anyone beating him.
Yeah, look, I actually had a small each way betting him that even myself, and he ran some race. everything I fancy here is drawn abroad the car park. Jack Finbar's drawn 20. I like Spaspia for Paul or for Paddy Toomey and Billy Lee actually. Gets a bit of headgear on, very lightly raced 4-year-old. Will light the ground, but the only thing is the draw. But a 14-1, I'm willing to take a chance of a fiver each way.
Right, and I'm just going to, I suppose, go one against the fielder as well. La Hacienda. Now, my pronunciation isn't great today. My cold hasn't gone away yet. But Matthew Smith for Jack Carney. Obviously, Jack had rode a winner already earlier on the week. Again, drawn wide enough, but Matthew Smith loves Galway. La Hacienda won his last race in Newcastle. But that was over 2 miles in Newcastle, and the last time we ran in Ireland was in 23rd of June in Down Royal. It was 36 runners in a handicap behind Powerful Aggie and Taipan, 2 decent yardsticks. Lahas India has a decent time rating coming into this as well. So look, one against the field for a bit of each way value. Lahas India around the 14 mark, but I am all over Jack Finbar. I think this yoke is a good thing today, if obviously improves for the run. The last day, look, all you hope for these kind of horses is don't have the bounce factor. Right, moving on to the 10 past 7. It's a 1 mile 4 Guinness Irish EBF Fillies maiden of 17 grand. Mark, I don't have an overly strong opinion in this. For selection purposes, I will go with Dermot Weld and Chris Hayes with Isva. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm the one having the issues with pronunciation today. Isva for Dermot Weld and Chris Hayes. No really strong opinion. Just more so, look, it has plenty of experience. Has ran in the Curragh, has ran in Leopardstown, was behind Walterm and King Legrins the last day. So Isva is my selection today.
I'm going to say what you hear, Gary. Isva, I'm actually sweet enough in this. Aga can runner for Dermot Well and Chris Hayes finished third in behind Waltham the last time. You all see what Waltham went out and done since. So, yeah, I just think, look, Willie runs 2 interesting runners here, 2 bumper winners, I think. But look, I just think this one probably take the beating here, and of course Dermot Well still maps him out for these races.
Yeah, and I'm just going to, it's not a selection, but it's more so of an opinion. Delicate Girl for Joseph and Connorstone Walsh. Again, going to my time cliff, ran an absolute cracker the last day in the Curragh, was 4th 13 runners, so just over 2 lengths behind Scarlett O'Hara. I think the second or third in that race that day has come out and won a listed race since. So Delicate Girl might be a bit of each way value, around the 10-1 mark for Joseph and Connorstone Walsh. Moving on to the 740. It is the Arthur Guinness handicap of 17 grand for 3-year-olds only. It's over 1 mile, 98 yards. And again, it's not very original. I'd like to think all week I've gone for kind of big each way prices. I'm going for another favourite here. It's Navy Beach for Tony Martin. I think this lad is just handicaps to the absolute brim. For Colin Keane. Ran the last day in Down Royal on 24th of June. Rated 56 that day. Came third of 10 runners behind Picture of a City and Mobilise. Again, look, drawn 4 has a nice plum draw. Rio Largo opposes here for Luke Homer. Luke Homer obviously had a winner the other day. But Navy Beach for me, Mark, I think is just an absolute certainty, but it's handicapped to the absolute bejesus for Tony Martin and Colin Keane.
Yeah, everyone seems to be right for this. Gilded Son of Galileo has the right man on board. Lovely draw, in off a nice weight. Yeah, I think if he makes use of the draw, he'll definitely be the one the olive to beat. One that I'm going to have just a little euro each way on is Rival Queen for Joseph O'Brien, Mikey Shee. Handicap debutant, son of Soka, or affiliates out of Showcase and Philly. Just think the first time in the handicap at Joseph's, I think we touched on the other day, ran okay-ish in maidens, but look, making his handicap debut, and Mikey Shee, very good rider, just drawn a little bit wide, so might have to just try and hope for a bit of luck, but at about 18s or 20s, I'm willing to take a chance each way.
Yeah, now that's actually just looking at the Rival Queen's form, Mark. That's fairly stand out. Like, it ran the first day in Ace, is 6 to 16 runners, only 9 lengths behind, unless obviously come out and ran a listed company since.
Yeah,
in 14
and
to
the fourth in that race, I think, was actually Livio Milo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and obviously in Limerick then became 5 to 12 runners, 9 lengths behind Lansinte, and Lansinte obviously has improved that form since. But then the last day in Limerick, Farnborough, obviously, Shamey rode Farnborough the last day, and then Farnborough came out to win the Ulster Derby. I think it was a week later as well. So it was 14 lengths behind Farnborough and Limerick. Now Farnborough won that race very impressively. So, geez, Mark, I think you're after finding something there at a decent price. It's very rare Joseph would have a first-time handicapper with good maiden form like that. So I might actually have an old euro each way as well on Rival Queen.
Yeah, I just think that it could be one there that might. It's the one that I would say that could run sneakily into. It could do the job there at a big price, and of course you might see a few quid for it now during the day. I think anytime it kind of touched 18s or 20s, it kind of slips him into 16s. So there is a little bit around as well for it, and of course Mikey Sheehy he's a good little rider. I'm very sweet in that him as a rider.
Right, Rival Queen could be one that picks up a nice bit of each way value for us today. Moving on to the second last race of the 8-10, it's 1 mile 6 Rockshore refreshingly Irish race of 18.5 grand. Again, apologies to Rockshore. I'm not a big fan of your alcohol, but fair play to you. Yeah, this is a very, 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 very interesting race. Mount Leinster for Willie, top in America. Dawn Rising as well. Dawn Rising for Joseph, and then Stratham. Now I've gone with Stratham here. Billy's riding. Look, Stratham obviously has the class of the race. Has been there, has done it, and it's proven over a long period of time. It's battle hardened. That's the main reason why I've gone for Stratham. A couple of poor runs the last couple of times out, was 6 lengths behind Dawn Rising and Royal Ascot. Now it poses here better terms. I think it gets £5. Well, technically, it's bet £5 better off than Dawn Rising today. Yeah, I'm just going for Stratham, more so for the battle hardened point of view. Dawn Rising and Mount Leinster. Mount Leinster obviously off the track for a long time, Mark. Dawn Rising is look, won the last day in Royal Ascot, came third in Leopardstown, has good form this year. Yeah, I'm just going to go for Stratham here, Mark. Not massive overstrong opinion, more for battle hardened, and it's just a good race.
Yeah, I suppose Dawn Rising, it could be the one they all have to beat, but of course it's after getting a good bit of a hike. One that interests me though is MC Muldoon for Willie Mullins. He's off the track a long time though, that's the only thing, but you touched on it yesterday, and it doesn't really, like, Willie brings him back, you don't really take those things into account sometimes, because he can bring him back exceptionally. He was second in Royal Ascot there 3 runs ago. Behind, was only beaten a short head by Rushon. He came to Galway then at the festival and actually won a novice hurl in the hands of Paddy, beating Enniskerry that day. And then he went to Newmarket and wasn't beaten that far, but we haven't seen him for the guts of 2 years, I'd say. He was actually meant to be a runner here last year, I think, and he was pulled out for temperature, whether that was the case or not. So look, he's still relatively less miles on the clock and some very good miles on the clock. So with Shamey Heffron taking the ride here 10-1, I'm going to go for him each way. Just nothing major now, but just I think he could be the one, maybe just at a bit of a price that stands out.
Go on, the Marky boy, going against the three favs in the race. MC Muldoon, I'll be cheering him on for you. As Stratham comes up the final furlong of Billy, and Billy be putting the fist up in the air saying that one is for you, Gar. That one is for you. Moving on to the last race.
Didn't even know Billy wrote it.
Moving on to the last race, again, not very original, but I think Tony Martin and Colin Keane combine here again. I think Tony and Colin could have a double today. Belgo Prince, again, seems very well handicapped, is in really, really, really good form. On the 5th of July in Tipperary, came first 13 runners. And back in Clarny then at the Clarny Festival, came second 15 runners, 1.25 lengths behind London Office Colin. Yeah, look, this Prince of Gibraltar, I think, again, it's not very original. And anyone who's been listening all week knows I haven't been going for favs all week. Just today is just a day that, look, I think a lot of favourites will go in. Now, keep an eye out for Sign From Above. I'm not too sure if Sign From Above will run. But Sign From Above came a very good third yesterday as well for Peter Fatty. Ronan Whelan is meant to ride today. Longclaw has found a bit of form again for trainer Paul Murphy. Gavin Ryan has the rider today as well. But I'm going to go for Belgo Prince. It's a bit of a drifter this morning, but I will take all drifting prices, no problem. So Belgo Prince for me, for Tony Martin. Mark, what is your selection?
It's an interesting one with our boy Wes Paul Byrne, of course, and Emmett Mullins own it jointly, but there don't seem to be much money around for this 3-year-old postponed. Sean Bowen takes 7 off its back at night 2, brings it into it is 13, is it? But I'm going to go for the old stalwart here, One Cool Port. Ran disappointed over hurdles during the week, but in stall 3 here, Billy won 3 in a row on him couple of years ago now. But out of stall 3, if he bounces here, if you see Billy bouncing out on this lad, he'll definitely one day all have to chase home. I think One Cool Port here. Of course, he's 11 now. Just a bit of a fan favorite, really. I'm not actually going to have a bet in the race, but my opinion is if One Cool Port bounces out, he could be the one day my hall have to chase home.
Mark, I really hope One Cool Poet absolutely hoses in and you don't have a penny on. I will be laughing all the way.
I'm here to support the racing.
Oh, sorry, Mark. Sorry about that.
Join us for the sport I'm here for.
You still think we're friends? We just work together. But no, One Cool Poet obviously ran on Monday.
I'm on a 3rd-story hotel room, but Gary.
Obviously, One Cool Poet ran on Monday as well, and I was held off over hurdles. But look, listen, take that with a pinch of salt. Again, don't listen to me. If you do fancy that horse that did run earlier on the week, do back it again. You never know. So One Cool Poet for Mark and Belgo Prince for Tony Martin and Colin Keane for me. Mark, that wraps up day 5. Fingers crossed we can get a good couple of big winners in. I do like Rival Queen. The more I look at, Mark, I will be going in having a 5 each way. At the moment, Boyle's their best price at 18 to 1, 5 places. I'm going to have a 5 each way as well on Rival Queen. And fingers crossed, Nucky Johnson at a big price comes in for you as well. Mark, any final thoughts as we leave day 5?
No, I suppose it just goes to show you there, listen to us all week, that it brings it back to the old saying, enjoy yourself and don't spend what you can afford, really. It's a long week, so just whatever you can afford and enjoy the racing. Some racing, you don't have to have a bet in every race. And look, hopefully we're going to kick a few of these big ones over the bar today. One will even do us at this stage.
Exactly. Look, I suppose it's just our opinions and our selections, and I think we've counted up. I think we've had 14 places this week. So look, listen, it's a bit of fun. We're not down any money. We're not up any money. It's a bit of fun. Hope everyone enjoys day 5. Mark, safe home. I will see you probably over the next 24 hours. And again, to Brian, if Brian is listening, congratulations to yourself and Claire. Looking forward to meeting the new member of the family over the weekend. Folks, listen, this has been Gary Toohey and Mark Fanning for MG Race and Galway Day 5 preview.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Gary.